How's it going, folks? Welcome back to Ronnie Rambles. Since the live stream, I meant to do this earlier, just wasn't feeling it this weekend for whatever reason. But now that we have a few of these guys landing in the wild, since the bros are super close to me, figured I'd knock this out real quick. So I guess we could start with the basics. The Prime Core, our first spinner under the Empire EDC brand, mainly focused on comfort. Comfort first and foremost. So, the bar itself, completely stainless steel, buttons and body. We're measuring about 50 millimeters in length, 15 millimeters in thickness, and 24 millimeters on the width itself. So, if you want to desk roll, you can still desk roll. So let's talk about the design itself. I did want to focus on the way it feels more than anything. So I know a lot of people like rounded, but I want to give chamfers a chance. Mainly because when launching the spinner, I normally like the feel of a flat surface more than a protruding curve. So that's why we went with the chamfers instead. I did make it a point to make sure that the chamfers are completely rounded. So there are no sharp edges. Everything on the body itself, completely rounded, even down to the grooves itself. So if you notice, the grooves here are rounded off on the edges. Seamless transition into the body itself with a little waterfall, and they're angled to give it a more of an aesthetic look. There's no function to these angles, or those lines for that matter, other than maybe a feel thing. It does feel good. But the bar itself, I mean, I went with the size because this is the size that I think I would love, and I was right. There's something to be said holding a nice chunk of metal in your hand, but it's not too thick where it's a bit cumbersome in the pocket. I think 15 is the right size. I might bring it down to 14 in a future iteration in a different design, but 15 straight bar is where it's at. So this bar in itself is basically the foundation of what I want, I guess, the next and final spinner to be. The dimensions itself, you're essentially part of a prototype batch of 50 units. Well, 48 and minus 2 more because I found some issues with a couple of them. We'll get into that one. The feel itself is super nice. Everything from the flick, whether you launch it from the corner or like me, where you just fling it up and launch it from the body. I don't know anybody that launches from the middle. However, somebody has said that they do this. I'm not sure why, but you could. And again, the chamfers play a role in the launch point, right? I think the bar is too thick where you'd be reaching into the side unless you're a side spinner like I am. But anything from the corner is going to be on the chamfer. Anything from the side is going to be from the side of the body. And if you're one of those that use the middle for whatever reason, it's also going to be on the chamfer. But yeah, like I mentioned, this is pretty much a proto run of the sides itself. I would love any feedback. If you do love the bar, that's great. I love it that you love it. But I want everybody to be extremely critical about the feel. The feel, size, comfort, and weight on this bar spinner. We started with stainless because I think stainless is the best starting point for any spinner in general. It covers, I guess, the center of the weights that are available. I may do another release in titanium to see how it fares with a lighter metal, and potentially copper to see how it fares a little bit heavier. I know everybody's been asking about WCU and W. That I'm not too sure about just yet. Just ballpark quotes. Apparently, anything out of China manufactured to the maker would be around $300 to $350 in W, and I estimate the body weight on this one to be around 190 grams. So if you want to leave in the comments your thoughts on that, let me know. But yeah, super nice design. Let's get into like the negatives. So the negatives that I've come across so far messing around with this for 2 days, I was concerned again, as I mentioned on the live stream, this side and this corner, which doesn't seem to be too much of an issue because you would never really touch it, and the way it lands in your palm or in your hand, there's really no hot spots. The other bit that I've noticed, the buttons are a bit on the heavy side. Oop. I did want to do some hollowing out, but I didn't want to just create a groove on the inside. I wanted to experiment with different types of, I guess, milling, depending on like rounded or angled, so on and so forth, that different variations to see how sound would bounce off the buttons themselves. But we didn't get that far. And as far as the button design, I was pretty much upfront on the live stream when I said I didn't really put much thought into it, which is true. I really just wanted to make sure that it was a deep dish, which is 3 millimeters depth on the center, and that it had a design that kind of flowed with the aesthetics of the side. So since the sides are angled down, I asked them to do angled down steps into the button itself, which turned out surprisingly nice. I was worried that these edges, I hate edges, were going to be too aggressive, but they're not. And when you hold it, your index finger sits nicely in the center of the button. And because of that step, it's a nice gradual step out for your thumb. So that's kind of the thinking behind the button itself. As far as the body, so these indents really just for aesthetics, to give the silhouette a bit of something, because the straight bar was kind of boring. Some issues that I noticed as I was going through all of them, including this one, is the bearing hole, like I brought up in the live stream, was a bit looser than what I want. It works. There's no issues. However, there were 2 units, I believe, that even though I let the Loctite sit overnight, it wouldn't hold these bearings in particular. Now, granted, this is worst case scenario because these Golden Beagles are U-bearings, meaning that there's far less surface area for the Loctite to hold on to. So I know that those units would probably be fine with straight-bodied bearings, but I'd rather not take the chance, so I left them out. Let's put these back on. To do size comparisons, let's do some size comparisons so you guys have an idea of how this stacks up. Let's do some of my favorite bars. So some of my favorite bars would be obviously the Pez. Here's the Pez side by side with the boot bar. Here's the Pez side by side with the Prime Core. Prime Core is a bit longer on the body, going at 50 millimeters. The width is 0.5. It's not very noticeable, but it's 0.5 slimmer on the Prime Core. But the width, or the thickness rather, it's hard to see with the chamfer, but the Prime Core is standing at 15 millimeters, where this Pez is 13, I believe. 12. So you got 3 millimeters on the thickness of the bar itself. Another comparison, WCU Rue. So this is the closest one as far as size goes. In regards to the width of the bar, the width is 24. The thickness is also 15. It's just the length that differs. So this has 19 millimeter NJT buttons on it, which looks great. The stock buttons on the Prime Core are 18. So 19s work and doesn't look too goofy, at least. Another comparison, we have to do. So I got a lot of inspiration from the Baby Yeti. I do love this WCU Baby Yeti. And the flat designs, or the chamfer design, was actually because of the feel from the Baby Yeti on these corners. I do wish that they kept this corner cut on their newer models. It would have made it feel a million times better. But this is why I went with chamfers instead of rounding everything off. So Baby Yeti, obviously a lot thicker, not as long, but a lot wider. Nope. Stay. And I guess we could do some thinner ones. So this is the WCU Slim Mini. Slim Mini, living up to its name. It's a lot slimmer. It's shorter. But also another fun bar that's in the short king category. I guess we could do one more. This would be WCU Gauze Big Minus Short. So this is 50 millimeters. Both are 50 millimeters. Obviously, the corners are coming in on mine. And the thickness. So this one really does stack up close to some of my favorite short bars. But it just hits with the thickness. It hits with the comfort on the sides. It hits with the flicking positions. And it also hits on the weight. I mean, the weight at 120 grams is pretty nice. Granted, 40 of those grams are from the button itself, but 80 for the bar as spinning weight is fairly decent for a 50 millimeter bar in stainless. I would suggest titanium buttons if anybody has them. My favorite combo to run so far has been, where is it? If anybody has any of these OG Fidget Boy buttons, this is the one that they started out with. It's 18 millimeters tall, but the dishing is super comfy, and these are titanium. And also, anything titanium will make the acoustics a bit louder. So here's the 18 millimeter buttons on the Prime Core. Super clean look. All right. So yeah, I plan to do a sus towards the weekend. I'm still running through all of the different spinners because I am replacing the bearings. I don't like the stock bearings, and I really didn't want you guys to experience it that way either. So I'm replacing them with my bearings that I have, since I have an abundance of them. I do love first come, first serve. So there might be a bunch of FCFS posts. I say a bunch, maybe some. Let's see, how far are we into this so far? 14 minutes, okay. So if you've made it this far and you're seeing this post, let's go with, for serial number 11, I'll ship it out by end of the day today or tomorrow morning. Whoever comments an emoji or a picture of the Statue of Liberty will get the first one. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you.